Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LO3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. Yeah, you hear some noise in the background. Little trivia games happening right now as we speak. I'm at the Downtowner Saloon, located at 10 South New River Drive in the heart along the New River of Fort Lauderdale, right next to the Broward County Jail, which is the southeast section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. Little historical landmark. I like it here. First time I came around, been in this place in almost a little under 24 years ago. So, nice little place. They had different owners and management and all that, but they still kept it nostalgic. So if you hear music in the background, I'm not responsible for that. Just to let you folks know. Nice little crowd, good people here, good vibe. They have the $5 special on the burger. Add a couple of extra things, it's like $1 each. And they do have other plant-based stuff as well, just to be very fair. Alright, so it looks like there's a couple of cases that we know of pertaining to the coronavirus, or COVID-19. And it really gets me when I see these stupid little labels about how to wash your hands, and the way they talk to us, and these little instructions reminds me of like a bunch of little kids. Well, of course, you have the corporate world trying to control our lives as well. They don't give a damn. They never don't give a damn if you have a high fever. They want you at the job. Get everyone else sick. We'll be talking about that and the potential surveillance state as well. There'll be a couple of topics. So, and they're watching the Idiot Box here about Super Tuesday. Yvette Simpson, Democracy of America. We're not a democracy, dummy. Looks like Biden won in Virginia. A New World Order buttboy that he is. Sorry to hear about that. Got 47 delegates so far. Bernie Sanders has 9. Bloomberg has 4. And Gabbard has 1. So this hour, Biden has 100, Sanders 69, Warren 8, Bloomberg 4. They need 1,991 need to win. Interesting indeed. So it just really gets me. We got all these bobbleheads on TV. I just laugh. So there's nothing more than hype, my friends. Should focus more on the House of Representatives, which they're responsible for revenue spending, not the president. I'll say this once again: the president is good for being a commander-in-chief, an elected ambassador that represents the states via electoral college. I'm not looking for a ruler or Lord and Savior. You shouldn't either. Don't join the her-conformed entourage. So, that's how you gotta always observe these institutions. But, so I'm gonna be talking about a couple of things pertaining to the virus, which I still say is a bioweapon. And let's just start it off here. From the organicprepper.com. Great site, by the way. Department of Defense, DOD. COVID-19 likely to be a pandemic within the next 30 days. This is what Ms. Luther has to say. In a document obtained by Newsweek, Department of Defense officials said that COVID-19 will likely become a global pandemic within the next 30 days. This comes a year after 23-year-old soldier stationed in South Korea became the first member of the U.S. Armed Forces to contract the illness. Interesting about that because, like I said before, there was a World Military Games happen in October 2019 in Wuhan, China. How many of them actually been affected that we actually know? So, the question is, my friends, how accurate is this information? But I will proceed. The DoD is concerned not only the impact of COVID-19 has on mission readiness, but the risk of inadvertently spread the virus to the U.S. by returning members who may have been exposed, senior Pentagon official told Newsweek. When asked for comment, Jessica R. Maxwell, DoD spokesperson, said the DoD has contingency plans in place and are taking steps to educate and safeguard military and civilian personnel, family members, and base communities in preventing widespread outbreaks. But ultimately, commanders of individually affected geographic commands will be and are issuing specific guidance to their forces as the situation may require. The use of the term pandemic in the briefing documents described a global outbreak, whereas an epidemic would be confined to a country, a senior Pentagon official told Newsweek. During the pandemic, a large number of people in several countries or continents are affected, according to the CDC. Arguably, it's already a pandemic since it has reached every continent except Antarctica. Many people in the United States are paying attention and ratcheting up their preparedness for possible quarantines and other measures. The National Center for Medical Intelligence, the NCMI, raised the risk of pandemic warning from WatchCon 1 to WatchCon 1, according to document obtained by Newsweek. WatchCon 2 is used in the event of a probable crisis, and WatchCon 1 means the crisis is imminent. This goes hand in hand with reports that military began executing plans to prepare for a potential pandemic 2 weeks ago. As well, this could be the reason behind President Trump's deal with the Taliban. It could be an effort to get soldiers out in an area where transmission could be widespread. The CDC also feels that the risk of pandemic is high. Center for Disease Control also notes the likelihood of a global pandemic is high. At this time, however, most people in the United States will have a little immediate risk of exposure to the virus. This virus is not currently spreading widely in the United States. However, it is important to note that current global circumstances suggest it is likely that the virus will cause a pandemic. This is a rapidly evolving situation, and the risk assessment will be updated as needed. Current risk assessment. For the general American public who are unlikely to be exposed to this virus at this time, the immediate health risk of COVID-19 is considered low. People in the community where ongoing community spread with the virus that causes COVID-19 has been reported are at elevated, though still relatively low, risk of exposure. Healthcare workers caring for patients with COVID-19 are at elevated risk of exposure. Close contacts of persons with COVID-19 who are at elevated risk of exposure. Travelers returning from affected international locations where community spread is occurring are also elevated risk of exposure. The CDC has been harshly criticized regarding its response to the virus. Tests that they have sent out to health departments were faulty, losing weeks of possible containment in the United States. For more on the lack of the containment in this article, you can look it up. There's links to this place on the site. The World Health Organization, or WHO, refuses to call it a pandemic. Perhaps in an effort to ratchet down the level of fear and panic across the globe, the World Health Organization has not deemed COVID-19 a pandemic. Does this virus have a pandemic potential? Absolutely. It has. Are we there yet? From our assessment, not yet. Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told journalists in Geneva. He explained that the decision used to the word pandemic is based on an ongoing assessment of geographical spread of the virus, the severity of disease it causes, and the impact on society. For the moment, we are not witnessing the uncontained global spread of this virus, and we are not witnessing large-scale severe disease or death. He said, adding what is occurring is coronavirus epidemics in different parts of the world, which are affecting communities differently. One must wonder, why is there so much ado about a word? Why is the World Health Organization so reluctant to call this what it is, a pandemic outbreak, when it is one even by their own definition? A definition found here is to say a pandemic is a worldwide spread of a new disease. The preparedness and alternative media worlds are not alone in asking this question. Lauren Sauer, Director of Operations for the Johns Hopkins Office of Critical Event Preparedness, told a reporter for the Washington Post, "Personally, I think we're doing everything a disservice by continuing this debate. It's creating more panic than just declaring it and moving on." The World Bank has an insurance policy against pandemics. Interesting there, right? And a possibility, unrelated aside, the World Bank has an insurance policy against pandemics. But unless certain conditions occur, it won't pay out, which greatly benefits investors. I use the word unrelated because apparently the bonds aren't dependent on the WHO's classification of an outbreak. According to the World Bank, created the fund 3 years ago. It was designed to swiftly funnel funds from the deep-pocketed financial sector to health authorities in poorer countries before international assistance could be mobilized. They sold $320 million of these securities, which will mature in July of this year. If it matures, investors could receive double-digit yields. If a pandemic does occur, however, they could lose every penny they put into the fund. So there's an interesting risk there. Heel bono benefits, right? The Class B bond covers conditions that are non-influenza, related like Ebola. But interestingly, the bond never paid out despite the ongoing crisis in the Congo based on the conditions laid out by the bond. What are those conditions? The primary one is that there must be more than 250 deaths attributed to the pandemic's illness. But for the bond to be payable, there must be more than 20 deaths in the second country, which hasn't yet occurred with either the coronavirus, sorry about coronavirus, good grief, coronavirus or Ebola. You can read more about the pandemic bond in these documents, so please, folks, I encourage you to read it. Whatever you want to call it, COVID-19 is widespread. People in the United States are definitely considered this weekend shopping frenzy means anything to learn more about preparing specifically for this outbreak. To learn more about getting prepared for quarantine, go here. Yesterday's WHO Stirrup reported divulged the following information. Armenia, Czechia, Dominican Republic, Luxembourg, Iceland, and Indonesia all now have confirmed cases of COVID-19. A WHO team has arrived in Tehran to help with the Iranian response of their outbreak. COVID-19 has been confirmed in 65 countries across the globe. You can read the full report here. It never hurts to get prepared with some extra food, toilet paper, and other supplies. If the Department of Defense is warning that facing the pandemic within 30 days, we can safely see the pandemic has already arrived. Absolutely. Interesting stuff here, folks. And even some of my sources I got, it was pretty deep. That's why, like you said, there was 2 cases in Florida, but don't be surprised if there's more. I'm not saying this out of fear, but awareness. Accuracy is essential. That's the bottom line. They don't know for sure. Don't get me wrong, I'm not crazy about some of these governmental folks within the health department, but not everyone there are bad people. They look at the human element. And so I just gotta be ready, and I encourage people, clean yourself and all that, but don't just take it from there and boost your immune system. All right? even natural remedies. I don't know, Mike Adams talked about it in his past shows on natural remedies. There's already great products that's on our planet that can fight these certain viruses, diseases, etc. Don't rely on big pharma. And I agree. And I agree with one thing too. Don't fall for the vaccine hype. It could be a lot worse than what they're telling you. The whole thing is, folks, we gotta be vigilant on our health, not just to ourselves, but to the people we care for. And probably a lot of big cities that are very badly sanitized, they're gonna have a bigger issue. Usually mega cities, international cities within this nation, not just here, but the world. So, you gotta look at all these areas for sure. Vigilance is the key. And speaking of that, we always gotta be aware who's gonna take advantage of you. We've got tyrants within our governmental institutions, not just the United States, but the world will manifest on us and control us like little minions. And I will talk about this here by John Whitehead by the Rutherford Institute. I encourage people to check them out, rutherford.org. And it came out today, it says here, coronavirus versus the mass surveillance state, which poses the greatest threat. The greater threat. And as it reads here, it seems we're in the process of becoming a totalitarian society in which the state apparatus is all-powerful. The ethics of the most important of the survival of the true free individual would be cheat, lie, evade, fake it, be elsewhere, forge documents, build improved electronic gadgets in your garage, thou outwit the gadgets used by the authorities. Philip K. Dick. Emboldened by the citizenry inattention and willingness to tolerate its abuses, the government has weaponized one national crisis after another in order to expand its powers. The war on terror, the war on drugs, the war on illegal immigration, asset forfeiture schemes, road safety schemes, school safety schemes, eminent domain, all these programs start out as legitimate responses to pressing concerns and have since become weapons of compliance and control in the police state's hands. It doesn't matter what the nature of the crisis might be. Civil unrest, natural emergencies, unforeseen economic collapse, loss of functioning political and legal order, purposeful domestic resistance or insurgency, pervasive public health emergencies, and catastrophic natural and human disasters, as long as it allows the government to justify all manner of government tyranny in the so-called name of national security. Now we find ourselves on the brink of a possible coronavirus contagion. I'll leave the media and medical community to speculate about the impact the coronavirus will have on the nation's health. But how will the government's war on the coronavirus impact our freedoms? For a hint of what is in store, you can look to China, our role model for all things dystopian, where the contagion started. In an attempt to fight the epidemic, the government has given its surveillance state apparatus, which boasts the most expansive and sophisticated surveillance system in the world, free reign. Thermal scanners using artificial intelligence have been installed at train stations in major cities to assess body temperature and identify anyone with the fever. Facial recognition cameras and cell phone carriers track people's movements constantly, reporting in real time to data centers that can be accessed by government agents and employers alike. Added coded color alerts, red, yellow, and green, sort people into health categories that respond to the amount of freedom of movement they're allowed. Green code, travel freely. Red or yellow, report immediately. Mind you, that prior to the coronavirus outbreak, the Chinese surveillance states had already been hard at work tracking its citizens through the use of some 200 million security cameras installed nationwide. Equipped with facial recognition technology, the cameras allow authorities to track so-called criminal acts such as jaywalking, which factor into a person's social credit score. Social media credit scores assigned to Chinese individuals and businesses categorize them of whether they are not good citizens. A real name system, which requires people to use government-issued ID cards to buy mobile SIMs, obtain social media accounts, take a train, board a plane, or even buy groceries. Sounds familiar, folks? Can we say New World Order 101? Talking about the folks in the United States, the Real ID Act. See, when it comes to tyranny, it goes hand in hand, regardless of form of government. Among the activities that you can be labeled unworthy are tracking reserved seats on trains or causing trouble in hospitals. At the same time, social credit score technology using that to identify, track, and segregate citizens is now one of China's chief weapons in its fight to contain the coronavirus from spreading. However, it is far from infallible and a prime example of the difficulties involved in navigating an autonomous system where disembodied AI systems call the shots. For instance, one woman who has no symptoms of the virus but was assigned a red code based on a visit to her hometown has been blocked from returning to her home and job until her color code changes. She has been stuck in the state of limbo for weeks with no means of challenging the color code or knowing exactly what she has been assigned a red code. Defining the coronavirus epidemic has given China the perfect excuse for unleashing the full force of its surveillance data collection power. The system, as Eamon Barrett acknowledged in Fortune magazine, is what happens after. Once the outbreak is controlled, it's unclear whether the government will react its new powers. The lesson for the age is once any government is allowed to expand its powers, it is almost impossible to pull back. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., the government thus as far limited to its coronavirus preparations to missives advising the public, stay calm, wash their hands, cover their mouths when they cough and sneeze. Yeah, little typical stuff you see all around at your job sites, here on the radio, never go, oh girl, wash my hands, wash my hands, wash my hands. Follow the herd, just another cow. Something to think about, folks. Don't you follow their commands. All right, the Pavlovian dog theory, Pavlov's dog theory, okay? Don't go underestimating the government's ability to lock the nation down if the coronavirus turns into a pandemic. However, after all, the government has been planning and preparing for such a crisis for years now. The building blocks are already in place for such an eventuality. The surveillance networks, fusion centers, and government contractors that already share information in real time. The government's massive biometric databases that can identify individuals based on genetic and biological makeup. The militarized police working with conjunction with federal agencies ready and able to coordinate with the federal government when it's time to round up the targeted individuals. The courts that will sanction the government's method, no matter how unlawful, as long as it's done in the name of national security. Buzzword, national security. And the detention facilities, whether private prisons or FEMA internment camps that have been built, are waiting to be filled. A little history lesson, folks. Remember the time when they did detain Americans, mostly Japanese descent, German and Italians, into these internment camps after Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066? Yeah! 9066 revisited? We can say that as well? Absolutely. Now, all this may sound far-fetched to you now, but we've already arrived at the dystopian futures profited by George Orwell's 1984, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, and Philip K. Dick's Minority Report. It won't take much more to push us over the edge into Neil Blomkamp's asylum, in which a majority of humanity is relegated in an overpopulated, disease-warring planet where the government employs technologies such as drones, tasers, biometric scanners to track, target, and control the populace. I'll give you another one, Logan's Run. I haven't read the book, but people told me it's really interesting, but there's a movie on that as well. It came out in 1974, 75. Yeah, check that out too, folks. Mind Control 101 indeed. Mind you, while these technologies are already in use today and being hailed for their potentially life-saving, cost-saving, time-saving benefits, it won't be for long before the drawbacks to having the government equipped with technology that makes it all-seeing, all-knowing, and all-powerful helped along by the citizenry for outdistance the benefits. On a daily basis, Americans are relinquishing, in many cases voluntarily, the most intimate details of who we are. There are biological makeup or genetic blueprints, and there are biometric facial characteristics and structured fingerprints, iris scans, etc. There's people I know believe that support this stuff. That's why I don't really talk to them as much, okay? I'm tired of these tyrannical sympathizers around me, all right? Well, we'll continue on here. In order to navigate an increasingly technologically enabled world, consider all the ways you continue to be tracked, hunted, hounded, and stalked by the government and its dubious agents. By tapping you into phone lines, cell phone communications, the government knows what you say. By uploading all of your emails, opening your mail, and reading your Facebook posts and text messages, the government knows what you write. By monitoring your movements with use of license plate readers, surveillance cameras, and other tracking devices, the government knows where you go. By churning through all of the diaries of your life, what you read, where you go, what you saw, the government can predict what you will do. By mapping and synapses in your brain, scientists, and in turn the government will soon know what you remember by mapping your biometrics and fingerprint and storing the information in a massive shared government database available to bureaucratic agencies, government and police and the military. The government's goal is to use facial recognition software to identify you and every other person in the country and track your movements wherever you go. And by accessing your DNA, the government will soon know everything else about you that they don't already know. Your family chart, your ancestry, what you look like, your health history, your inclination to follow orders or chart your own course, etc. Of course, none of these technologies are foolproof, nor are they immune from tampering, hacking, or user bias. Nevertheless, they have become a convenient tool in the hands of government agents to render the null and void the constitutional requirements of privacy and its prohibition against unreasonable searches and seizures. The ramifications of a government, any government, having this much unregulated accountable power, target, track, round up, and detain its citizens is beyond chilling. Imagine what a totalitarian regime such as Nazi Germany could have done with this kind of unadulterated power. Imagine what the next police state to follow in Germany's footsteps will do with this kind of power. Society is rapidly moving in that direction. We made it easy for the government to watch us. Government eyes see your every move, what you read, how much you spend, where you go, with whom you interact, and when you wake up in the morning. What you're watching on television and read on the internet. Well, I'll probably find out what I'm reading, but I don't give a damn. Every move you make is being monitored, mined or data crunched and tabulated in order to form a picture of who you are. what makes you tick, and know and how to best to control you when it becomes necessary to bring you in line. Chances are, as the Washington Post has reported, you have already been assigned a color-coded threat assessment score, green, yellow, or red. So police are forewarned about your potential inclination to be a troublemaker, depending on whether you've held a career in the military, posted a comment perceived as threatening on Facebook, suffer from a particular medical condition, or know someone who might have committed a crime. In other words, you're most likely already flagged in a government database somewhere. The government has the know-how. Indeed, for years now, the FBI Justice Department has conspired to acquire near limitless power and control over biometric information collected on law-abiding individuals, millions of whom have never been accused of a crime, going far beyond the scope of those with criminal backgrounds. The FBI's Next Generation Identification Database, or NGID, a billion-dollar boondoggle that is aimed at dramatically expanding the government's ID database from a fingerprint system to vast data storehouse of iris scans, photo searchable face recognition technology, palm prints, and measures of gait and voice recordings alongside records of fingerprint scars and tattoos. Launched in 2008, the NGID is a massive biometric database that contains more than 100 million fingerprints and 45 million facial photos gathered from a variety of sources ranging from criminal suspects and convicts, daycare workers, and visa applications, including millions of people who never committed or even been accused of a crime. In other words, innocent American citizens are now automatically placed in a suspect database. God bless the New World Order. For a long time, the government was required to at least observe some basic restrictions, or when, where, and how could access somehow biometric DNA and use it against them. This is no longer the case. The information is amassed through a routine procedures when the police leading the way as prime collectors of biometrics for something as non-threatening as a simple moving violation. The nation's courts are also doing their part to build a database requiring biometric information as precursors to more lenient sentences. And of course, corporate America, including Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc., has made it so easy to use one biometric to access everything from bank accounts to cell phones. We've made it so easy for the government to target, identify, and track us. Add pre-crime programs into the mix with government agencies and corporations working in tandem to determine who is a potential danger and spin a sticky spider web of threat assessments, behavioral sensing, warnings, flagged words, and suspicious activity reports using automated eyes and ears, social media, behavior sensing software, and citizen spies, and you having the making for a perfect to stop being nightmare. This is the kind of oppressive pre-crime and pre-thought crime package foreshadowed by George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, and Philip K. Dick. Remember, even the most well-intentioned government law or program can be and has been perverted, corrupted, and used to advance their illegitimate purposes once profit and power are added to the equation. In the right or wrong hands, malevolent plans can easily be put into malevolent purposes. Surveillance, digital stalking, and data mining of the American people add up to a society in which there's little room for indirections, imperfections, or acts of independence. This is a creepy, calculating, yet diabolical genius of the American police state. The very technology was hailed as revolutionary and liberating has become our prison, jailer, probation officer, big brother, and father knows best, all rolled into one. It's turned out that we are Soylent Green, a 1973 film of the same name starring Charlton Heston and Edward G. Robinson is set in 2022 in an overpopulated, polluted, starving New York City. whose inhabitant depends on synthetic food manufactured by Soylent Corporation for survival. Heston plays a policeman investigating a murder who discovers the grisly truth about the primary ingredient in the wafer, Soylent Green, which is a principal source of nourishment for the starved population. It's people. Soylent Green is made out of people, declares Heston's character. They're making our food out of people. Next thing, they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. Oh, how right he was. Soylent Green is indeed people, or in ours case, Soylent Green is our personal data repossessed, repackaged, and used by corporations and the government to entrap us. Without constitutional protections in place to guard against encroachment on our rights, power, technology, and militaristic governments converge, it won't be long before we find ourselves, much like Edward G. Robinson's character in Soylent Green, looking back on the past but longing back to an age where we can speak to whom we want it, but what we want it. I think we want it and go where we want it without those thoughts. Words and movements being tracked, processed, and stored by corporate giants such as Google, sold to government agencies such as NSA and CIA, and used against us by militarized police with their army of futuristic technologies. We're not quite there yet, but that moment of reckoning is getting closer by the minute. In the meantime, we got an epidemic to survive, so go ahead, wash your hands, cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, and stock up on whatever you might need to survive this virus as it spreads to your community. And of course, we are indeed at the most vulnerable right now. But to make clear in my book, Battlefield America, the War on the American People, it's the American surveillance state, not the coronavirus, that poses the greatest threat to our freedoms. Interesting, great point there, and he's correct. Mr. Whitehead is correct on that. This is why we always got to pay attention, a lot bigger than what it is, my friends. Like I said before, Kio Bono, who benefits? You got some sons of bitches out there, psychic vampires, will manifest on us being controlled like a bunch of cattle. So what is your step? You want to liberate yourself, or be a number to the system? Everyone has to make that decision. Hopefully, you all will choose wisely. Well, folks, that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to the Decorum. Plus, I will leave these articles on my Spreaker page with this episode, okay? Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.